Hi there Aries, thank you for joining me for your year 2015 forecast. At the start of each year we get a collection of energies, and those collection of energies give us what's known as a solar return. And for you, I get a real sense of excitement in telling you that your ruling planet Mars is in opposition with the planet of expansion, Jupiter, which is in the very best part of your scope this year, right through till August the 10th. And this combination is going to give you tremendous enthusiasm and the desire to prove yourself and to demonstrate to people how talented you are. But the driver behind this continues to be a lot of energy in the sign of Capricorn. And Capricorn energy is very much to do with a slow, methodical rise to prominence. In other words, it's to do with our goals and ambitions. And for you, there is an opportunity for you to continue to make progress. But if you want to make that progress, you probably are going to have to try to balance up the parts of yourself that are much more individualistic, because in order to make your way to the boardroom or any goal or ambition you have, there's probably going to be a need to fit in with what other people's expectations of you are. And if you're a natural rebel, then that's probably proved to be quite difficult for you over the last few years. And you may have found it difficult, therefore, to define your role. And this is because of a continuing, ongoing angle between Pluto, the tiniest entity in the solar system, and Uranus, which is in your sign. Uranus has been shaking things up. It's been making you more outspoken. It's also been making you much cleverer and able to come up with unusual solutions. But not all of these solutions have necessarily fitted in with those expectations that others have had of you. And for the first 5 months of this year and the last 2 months, Uranus and Pluto are once more doing battle, and battle is probably the right kind of adjective, because it's not an easygoing aspect, this. It can really push us into areas that we're not keen on. For example, a lot of politics to do with your work or your role, whether it's in voluntary organisations, you work in some kind of local situation, or it is totally professionally, are possibly going to be to the fore still. But there is one aspect at the start of this year in that solar return which can actually help you enormously, and it's a combination between Mercury and also Venus. Now the aspect, the conjunction, is very, very close to the sign of Aquarius. It's just in Capricorn, and it's essentially saying to you that if you can be strategic in your approach, Mercury, but also be conscious of relationships, Venus, then that's going to help you more than any other way to try to make the most of this year's opportunities. Because there is a huge opportunity this year for you, Aries, because late last year, Saturn, the planet of restriction, which had been making its way through the last 2 years, through the part of your horoscope to do with long-term finances, business affairs, anything to do where you are working very closely with another person or organisation, has probably made those areas quite tough going. And one source of income that you've had in the past may have come to a close over the last couple of years. And part of Saturn's new role in Sagittarius as you start out on this new journey into 2015 is asking you to be much more pioneering in your approach. But that probably will mean learning new skills. Now, if you're someone who wasn't fortunate enough to go to university when you were younger because you had to go and make a living, you may be thinking about a professional qualification or even one just for your own desires very late in your life. And Saturn in Sagittarius Saturn can really give you the taste for that in 2015. But Saturn is not going to be in Sagittarius all the year. It starts to twist backwards in March, in the middle of March, and by the middle of June it actually goes back into Scorpio, and through till the middle of September, once more some of those issues that you've been engaged with in the previous 2 years can come up again. And if there is something that you've been putting in place to try to bring in new lines of income, being creative in a way which brings new people into your world who are truly meaning for you in close alliances, you may find that there's still some way to go before you actually get to exactly where you want to be. But I do feel by September time there is a very rich promise that you can have a breakthrough. But there is a lunar eclipse which occurs in your sign, and that occurs on the 4th of April. And that's a very important one because this lunar eclipse is going to combine with Uranus, so this restlessness, this desire to be authentically yourself and not necessarily play by the rules is going to come up again. But this lunar eclipse works in a polar pair with this solar eclipse which occurred in the psychological part of your scope on the 20th of March. And it suggests that if some issues have yet to come out into the open around how you relate or how other people see you in relationships, or in one particular relationship, it might do so in the 6 months from then. So you have to be aware that this is a possibility. Now there is a big change which occurs on the 11th of August, because then the planet which is going to give you this wonderful opportunity to express yourself until then, Jupiter, moves into the much more practical Virgo. Now Jupiter in Virgo can be very precise. It's not so much into big, bold projects as it is in Leo. It's more about actually fulfilling those projects in a detailed way. So expansion, but at the same time making sure that everything is well organised and well structured. So on the face of it, it can be a very good thing. Unfortunately, at the start of September and through the whole month, Jupiter is going into opposition with the rather dreamy influence of Neptune. Now this is something that you need to be careful about, because again, issues that are not tremendously obvious can come out and cause mischief for you, and you have to be prepared. So whilst it's good to be bold, which is very much about what the Aries nature is like, and of course there is all that Capricornian energy giving you a taste for gaining recognition, you just need to be aware of the undercurrents, the less obvious areas of life that can sometimes come up and cause problems. And I think your energy, despite your optimism, may be a little bit diminished because of this throughout September. Now in October, you have a much greater opportunity to really move up a gear. And part of the reason for this is the eclipses which actually occur in September, because they're providing the backdrop of energy for the last quarter of the year. Now, this time they work in reverse, but they are giving you an opportunity to once more work on your relationships. And the better you relate to other people, the more progress you're going to make this year. And there is a fantastic alliance between Jupiter and Pluto throughout October, which could finally see you get that major breakthrough that you've been working towards the last couple of years in a way which can be profoundly satisfying. However, if you are trying to expand into new areas, there is also a tricky influence from mid-November to the end of the year. And this is between Saturn and Neptune. And this is much more difficult. Remember, Saturn can be about structure, but it can be about limitation. And then your 9th house is going to be very much to do with your reality. But as it squares up to Neptune, which is very much to do with an unreality, the more subconscious side of life and your own personality, you could go through a period of disillusionment if something is not working or progressing as quickly as you would like. And that's going to be a period where you really need to keep the faith. And I think if there are new skills to learn, or your reality does need to realign itself to where you are in the here and now, rather than where it was in previous times, then perhaps you're going through a period of transition. You're redefining who you are. Your need to be heard, your need for authority, to be someone who's meaningful in society, is going to be very strong this year. But it's also very important to understand how your personality impacts on other people, how people relate to you, and to understand the more nuanced ways that we can knit together with people, whether it's in very close personal relationships or with the world at large. I'm wishing you a very positive 2015. Thank you for joining me, Aries. Good luck and goodbye for now.